Top of the morning, good afternoon, hello, and welcome. Dermot Butterly here, creator and facilitator of Club Fearless, Essentials, Advanced, and also the My Better Life Book Club. Today, I have the honor, and I do mean the honor. You know, I've met a lot of people over the years, and a lot of people are doing great stuff. And then there are people who are doing stuff that's even a little above that. Today I'm going to be talking with Marc Chef. I love your signs in the back there, Marc. We're going to be talking to Marc Chef about his membership, the Unleash Creativity Club. That is a great name, Marc. That is a great name. So we're going to be talking to Marc. Oh yeah, bring your tea. Um, about his membership, what it is, who he serves, but also how he, more importantly, how he created it. Because I know
Hmm.
a lot of people out there listening, coaches, creators, entrepreneurs, consultants, people who have an idea or a hobby or a skill, and they'd really love to turn it into some kind of monthly revenue. It
Hmm.
can be a group coaching that's a membership. It can take an idea, it can be a creativity club, turn it into a membership. It can be a service, a product. Doesn't matter. What idea, what service, what product, what skill, what hobby, what do you love to do that you would love to be able to create recurring revenue? Now, we're going to talk to Marc about his membership, how he did it, why he did it, what he did to create it, and any insights and wisdom that he can share with you as you listening to this are thinking about, boy, can I do that? Is that possible? What do I need to do? What do I need to know? How do I start? So let's start at the beginning. Marc, thank you so much. I know you're in the process of moving, and thank you so much for taking some 20, 30 minutes to talk to us today. Really appreciate it. How are you, sir?
I'm well. Yeah, the sign says make a mess, and what you don't see is all the boxes and the mess that is actually happening out here. But thank
That's
you. It's really good to be here.
that's not false advertising. You
No,
actually do have a mess.
I live this particular dream for sure. Yeah.
What does the other sign say? It says create, destroy.
Create, destroy, emerge. It's my sort of shorthand for the make a mess creative process. It's a process. Well, in fact, it's related to kind of what we're doing today. You create without, without judgment, without self-judgment. Destroy is maybe glib, but it's about refinement. Okay, so what's working? What could make it even better? And then when you sort of get rid of the things that aren't working and keep the things that are working, then you sort of look at what that is and you emerge as something, you emerge as something different, but that and also that creation emerges as something different. I think if you sort of sit down and just say, oh, and this is I think we'll talk about this, but if you say, oh, I want to create a membership and it's going to look like this, and we're really good at coming up with all the ideas and then kind of not doing it because in part it's so big and sort of fleshed out. What you need is that sort of starting point.
It's I love the quote, when nothing is sure, everything is possible. That
I
to
like
me
that.
really says creativity. It really does. I got that quote long, long time ago. All right, Marc, let's start off, talk a little bit about your membership. Um, what is your membership? We already know the name, the Unleash Creativity Club. But who do you serve in your membership? Who's it for? Who would be interested in, or who's in it?
Sure. Who's in it is probably the easiest way to answer that. And it is largely speaking creatives or people who would like to be more creative, or have been, creative. So we've got people who are ranging from, working creatives. They're doing this as a business or would like to. And we also have people who I would say, uh, with all honor and respect, hobbyists. They are creative. They like creating things. They don't necessarily want to make it a business, nor maybe they don't need to. And this is, there's visual artists, there's writers. We have a whole writers group inside the group. I would even say, to a degree, we have some folks who are more in the entrepreneurial space. There's somebody who's starting a publishing company. I mean, it's creative is very loosely defined,
Yeah.
in part because the work that we do is always towards that direction of unleashing creativity, but it's built on the foundation of the kind of self-discovery that we do in the world of coaching. So it's not, I'm going to, come and I'll teach you how to draw. I did that for years. But what it is it's, teaching people how to get past whatever obstacles that they have, including their big dreams, which can be an obstacle to begin these things and to be in the creative act.
Yeah. Because you know, I don't know just culturally, but we kind of when we say, "Oh, I'm a creator," you know, it kind of I think some people or a lot of people would think, "Oh, yes, artists, creators, this kind of a thing." But you're saying that you pretty much have all sorts of people in your club.
Well, we do, and I know again it sounds a little pat, but we are all always creating on some level. Now there's obviously shades of gray there, but you're creating your club and your community. You're creating this series of interviews. You're creating your dinner. Like it works in big and small levels. Now, whether you choose to and say that again,
A lot of drama.
uh, I suppose I suppose it could be. You know, I guess maybe one of the unstated goals is to take some of the drama out of it. But whether or not you choose to engage with it from a creative perspective, I think is the thing that I love to sort of think about. But again, in the club, what we do is the members will come and they'll have something that or some of them don't, but we'll have something that maybe that is their focus creatively. And again, it's a whole range of things. But
It's
we
a few
use these tools.
examples of things that people come to your club and they want to work on. Like, give us a few stories for
Oh,
people.
sure. I would say if I had to sort of boil it down to a soft average, there's a number of people who are probably around, midlife, call that 35 to 55. I've got folks who are younger and I've got folks in their 70s. But there's a lot of people who sort of come and they're they want to make some sort of change in their life. They want to engage more with their creativity, or they want to use their creativity to create something. So specific example, let me think of a good one. Um, well, there's one person who actually doesn't even fall in that demographic who has done a lot of really big things in her life, has run seven-figure programs and all this other stuff, and is just hit a point where she's saying, I want to create things that are more meaningful to me. And so it's not a painting exactly, but it is a picture of her life that she's working on. And so these same tools we're using to apply to say, okay, so what is in the way? How can you start? What are you going to create? What's the mess you're going to make, and what are you going to carve out of it? And she's made, without getting into specifics, she's made a bunch of different things and is on the path to creating something really new for her, for her business specifically.
What a great service, Mark. What a great way to serve people in your membership. Really wonderful. All right, let's talk about your membership specifically. Now, you have I think you have currently around 30 or so members in there.
Yeah, thereabouts.
Yeah, and a lot of people listening might be thinking, okay, how does somebody start the membership? Because I know we were talking a little bit before the interview that, this idea didn't start off as a membership. It started off as a kind of an email course. And then what was the inspiration to turn it into a membership? And how did you do that?
Right. I think part of it was just sort of paying attention. I knew that I liked working with groups. I started this email course, and it had done pretty well, and then I did it again. It done pretty well, and I could just continue to really engage with people and ask them what was working, what would make it even better. The same stuff that we always ask. And I started to get a number of messages directly from people about how do we stay connected. And I tried this a few different ways. I ended up, landing on the platform that I use now in part because it was one of those things where you're just, once you have this idea and you're willing to be open to it, okay, so I'm going to create a membership. I don't know exactly what that looks like. I don't have the answers, but I'm just going to say that and have that in my mind when I ran into somebody who was running a membership and told me how she was doing it, it really appealed to me. So I ended up working with the same platform. We started small, we started small. I think my initial group, and I remember I'd run the course twice. I had something like 24 people who, was take had taken some of this information in, and we had about 8 people sign up for the membership. Um, and we've had, now we've grown, and we've gone up and down a little bit, but we've also grown in terms of what we offer, how we offer it, who's actually offering it. We now have more people, and there's now more people involved in running, various aspects of the membership. But again, I wouldn't listen to this and say, okay, I need to have a team, and I need to have 50 downloads, and I know your membership because you've got like, thousands of videos and all. It's like if you go in thinking you're going to do that, you're not going to start. The way that worked for me is I started with something that I knew how to do. I know how to write emails. I know how to set up like an email to go out once a day on MailChimp. And I just said, okay, let me just start with that and see how that goes. And it became clear that there was more that was needed. So then we added that. And then it became clear that there was more. So we added that. And it was that kind of iterative feedback process. And I just got off a call with my team today where we have more ideas about how we're going to make it better.
Well, you're also highlighting one of the reasons I think that memberships, subscriptions, I mean, it's already a 900 billion
Billion or
dollar
yeah,
industry in 2023, and it's going to be something like they said 4 trillion by 2031, which is absolutely
crazy.
insane to even think. So it's the future in terms of, I think, for coaches, creators, consultants, entrepreneurs that have these ideas and want to do something with them. I really do think it. I mean, my whole business, I turned my whole business in my book club membership, Club Fearless membership, Essentials
Yeah,
Advanced membership, because you're highlighting something really important here, is that it grows over time. It's not a one sale and then you have to go out and look for another person for that sale, but
right.
grows and compounds over time, which I love that you shared that, but you shared it in the context of, you started sending emails. I realized there was a little more interest and, hey, how else can I serve these people? And then you added that in.
Well, as you always say, it's about service. And what I've discovered really is that, yeah, I mean, yeah, there's the numbers that if you can grow it, it works out. But and I'm not going to say it's all, it's not all kittens and rainbows. It's hard. There's things that are hard about it right now. But I also feel like the membership format for many people is more valuable to the person in the membership. They're exposed to more people, more ideas. They have more opportunities for support. They have more opportunities for encouragement. They have more opportunities to get checked on whatever they need to get checked on. So I think it's beneficial really to everybody. Now, I think you can do other things in your life. You don't have to just run a membership, but I think this is, the most valuable way that I've found to serve these communities.
What would you say starting off, Mark? People that are listening, I'm trying to be the advocate for the people who um, may not know much about memberships or
Yeah.
um, heard about them, but have, just want to get kind of started. How would you, or how did so you had an email list, but how did
Mhm.
you then get people to register or sign up for your membership? Could you give us
Oh,
a step process?
yeah, I mean, I wish I could. I'll say this up front. You can do everything right and it still might not work. I've had, launches that, have really been great. I've had launches where, oh my God, it's just been a couple of people. And this is all, even in the same membership. Um, I think even before that, it's good to just have conversations with your communities, whether it's your professional communities, your family. I was fortunate to have Club Fearless in my back pocket for so long, where I could come and say, okay, I'm thinking about this, and I'm thinking about this, and really just refining that initial idea that you can start with. Because it's hard to market something that you don't know exactly what it is. So I would honestly start with those honest conversations, and it could be as simple as just questions about, what do you think I'm smart at? Like, what do you think is interesting about and it could be really surprising to you. I wouldn't be surprised if I asked those questions if someone's like, you should do a jiu. I talk about jujitsu all the time. Like, why don't you do a jujitsu, discussion membership? Um, but creativity was something that that's what I did for so long when I transitioned into coaching, and so it was a little bit easier for me to say, I want to take these lessons that I've gotten from my training as a coach. I found to be so valuable for my creativity, creating this business, creating, the coaching that I do. And I want to sort of give this back to the communities where I came from because I think it is valuable. So just thinking about, who is even there's the trick, of course, thinking like who's the one person that you want to serve and how might you serve them, just as a way of getting the idea, just an idea on the paper to start creating from there. Um, Here's how I think about small steps. In terms of like how do you start? It's like, okay, well, do I build a website? Do I do these things? Those aren't small steps, those are projects. When I think about a small step, I think about three things. It has to be something that you can do. So I know how to write an email and send it to a mailing list. It has to be something that you don't need someone else, as that no one else needs to approve it or say it's okay, right? Like I don't need to run emails by an editorial team. I can write them, I can send them. It also has to be something that you can do in about 20 minutes, because otherwise you might not start. So what that looks like for me is going into my email, and I already knew how to do some of this stuff. So for you, it might be signing up for MailChimp and just spending 20 minutes looking at it and then calling it a day. For me, it was going into my MailChimp and setting up an automation and saying, okay, let me see if I can set up an automation that goes out once a day. That was how I started. That was it. Once I figured that out, I started to think about, the content and started to think about how do I take all of this great coaching knowledge that I've gotten from various places and how do I make it so that people see how to use it for their creative aspirations.
And I like to, I love that keeping it simple because, I didn't, for years, I did exactly what you just said. I started off my coaching business with a website, and I spent an entire year and thousands of dollars and hours building the website. Before I was even telling people about a code, I was coaching. I didn't coach anybody. I mean, I just spent a whole year. And then, of course, after I built it, nobody came to it because we've got to be able to give people an experience, of whatever we're doing. Um, what would you say for you, Mark, was the hurdle or the challenge you had to get over in order to start your membership, and how did you do that?
Who the hell am I to do this? I think that's the hurdle. Why would people listen to me? I think is a big one for most people,
You had that?
right? I mean, I still have it. I think we all, I think we all deal with it to varying degrees at various times. I don't think it ever goes away, but um, something that, I think I got a lot of this from just my years as a creative and also, as a coach is to thank that voice for trying to keep you risk-free, but also to say, okay, well, um, where have I provided value in the world that felt good? It's an easy question to ask, and you might surprise yourself again. Like I made art for so many years, but where I really felt good and provided value was a lot of times just in conversation with other artists, whether I was teaching and mentoring or just, with friends and peers and sort of helping them through their own obstacles. So I knew that that's kind of what I wanted to, create for my membership because it's something that I was good at and I really enjoyed doing. So I knew I wasn't going to get like I wouldn't do a membership on, accounting or something. And sorry, I know accountants get a lot of crap all the time. I will say up front, I hope that accountants are very creative people for their clients, but um, yeah, I mean, I think one of the biggest hurdles is that mindset aspect and that inner critic, and I think that's one of the reasons why I love the membership that I do, and I loved being in Club Fearless because you could come with that and say. I really would love to do something like this, but I really don't feel like I'm the person. And oftentimes you get a bunch of people who are like, "Are you kidding? Why wouldn't you do that? You're great at that. Or you could do it this other way. You don't even have to do that whole thing. You could just do that." And suddenly you've got all this great feedback and encouragement and ideas. It's one of the reasons why I really wanted to do my own membership because I'd gotten so much out of being in different communities for the last 20 however many years. and seeing the benefit on creativity specifically, but just on becoming the person you want to be in the world. So your club doesn't have to be about creativity. It can be about, I mean, I've seen clubs, Stu likes to give the example of what's the club on like making felt mushrooms or something like some very niche craft.
Door knockers. She just makes like these door knockers. Another
Right.
lady teaches people how to make balloon animals. Another
Yeah, and I think it just speaks to this idea that I think we underestimate how much we as humans crave community, how much we get out of community. And, over the last whatever number of years, things have changed. We're more isolated. We don't know any all this stuff. But there's opportunities now that we have, the ability to connect with each other over long distances to create community in new ways.
I also think, Mark, I really appreciate you bringing this up. I love that question. How have you helped somebody in the world, or how have you served somebody in the world? Because, I struggled with that too.
Yeah.
Who am I to,
Right.
make this big? My whole thing was I just wanted to make $5,000. And then I made $5,000 a month. I said, well, $10,000 would be like I wouldn't believe it if I could ever make. And then I made 10,000, and then it was it just kept going up from there. Um, but I love that you brought that up because everyone has an idea.
Mm.
Everyone is already helping somebody. I don't give a crap whether it's, you're drawing stick figures for them or you're sharing your hobby. I have a friend and she loves to, and she's a world-renowned coach, and she loves to knit. That's
Hmm.
her thing, knit. And wherever she goes, she talks about knitting. And she shares her love and her passion of knitting. And she has told me that even sharing that with people will inspire them to actually take something that they're doing and share it with more people. It doesn't mean you
Hmm.
have to create a membership or charge for it, but it's just more about what you said about the community. About, I always like the quote, um, share your joy and you double it, share your
Hmm.
fear and you cut it in half. And I think that speaks to what you're talking about, is like everyone has something that they can offer. And turning it into a membership means that you can offer it and also put food on the table and grow it over time, which
Yeah.
is wonderful.
Yeah, as I said, and I will talk about this for as long as anyone will let me. I love training jujitsu. I pay a membership fee. I pay an annual fee. And I think I'm getting the better end of the deal. I know those guys are making a living. I know what I pay them, but like I get to go every day. I get to be in this community. I get to learn the things I want to learn. Is jujitsu making me any money? No, it's not a money equation. I'm getting joy out of it. And what I love about my gym, Park Slope Academy in Brooklyn, is that they're very clearly coming from a place of wow, we love this. We love this. And I've walked into lots of different gyms and there's lots of different vibes, but just going in there and just feeling that joy, you can sense it. So I agree with you, Dermot. I think think about what if you're thinking about starting a membership, think about what brings you joy. It could be knitting or felt mushrooms or blackout poetry or just it doesn't matter. What do you like doing? How could you share that with people and create a community around it? Because somebody's out there. There's many people out there who would gladly be in a space to talk about this kind of stuff with you.
As we start to wrap up, Mark, I love your sign on the back there, make a mess. Uh, kind of something for me, what I hear in that is, risk it. Show up and try stuff, as Mike O'Neill used to tell me. Risk. The only thing you're ever risking is a feeling. You're not risking anything else. But just throw some stuff at the wall and see what happens. Um, as the people are listening here to our little chat, and the members in your membership, when they come in and they're like, "Well, I'm not creative and I can't do that." What
Hmm.
what, what questions do you ask them, or what advice do you give them when they come in?
Ooh. Well, that's one of, I think, m many things that stops people. I mean, the truth is, when someone says I can't, they usually come with good reasons,
Oh yeah.
right? And you know they have a list of reasons why they can't. Time and money are two probably biggest reasons that anybody has not to do something. And so getting into the specifics
Reasons
of
or excuses, Mark.
um I mean
There you go.
I don't want to judge, but I think that like we all have different choices. Sometimes there are things like, you know, I can't play professional basketball. There's a lot of things in my way right now, and they're real. I'm 5'7". But I know there's been shorter guys out there. But I think reasons are worthy of examination, right? And that's what we partially do is we do this self. I say, look, we're going to do some of this self-discovery work, and you're going to discover, are these reasons real? Or is there a way that you could do it that you just haven't explored? So oh, sorry, it's over here. We're going to make a mess. We're going to create a bunch of ideas. We're going to create a bunch of ideas for you about how your life's going to look, how your creativity is going to look. And you plan on keeping almost none of them, right? We're just going to come up with all this stuff and how you want to do it. And if you're willing to engage in that process and you're willing to examine and sort of look at how it feels, you might find that there is an idea that you could try. Or maybe you thought the idea had to be this big thing, but you could start it with, you know, an email list or, you know, four people or I mean, I know Stu talks about this too, where he's like, start with one person, which sounds honestly terrifying, right? Like having a club with one person, but I can say I have done it and it has led to good things because I've learned a lot about what it what it means to or what at least one person wants and what more they want, and then I can go out and say, hey, we're offering more, and then more people come. Yeah, I wish I could say that it was like, yeah, you just do this and this and then it's easy. I mean, there's long dark times in this, but I've been doing this for a couple of years now, and there's times when I wanted to quit recently, even when I've gone to my team and been like, they're like, how's everybody feeling? I'm like, I feel like quitting. I'm just gonna say it. I'm not gonna quit, but like I really feel like quitting right
Oh,
now.
I have days where I curse coaching and I curse what I'm doing and I curse all the people I'm working with, and then I take the day off, which is great because I can do that. I go hiking and I come back and I'm set. Yeah, it's not that I don't. There's no one out there in the world that loves what they do all the time. It's just
Yeah.
it's not. All right, Mark. Let's wrap up. Um, what advice would you give people listening and they're thinking, hey, I've got an idea, but I'm afraid. I don't know if it's going to work. Who am I to put something
Hmm.
in the world? Are people going to want it? People going to pay for it? What advice would you give those
Like,
folks?
like it's a trick question. Coaches don't give advice, right?
We're allowed to in this moment, though.
Okay, the permission slip has been granted. Um, I would say I would say those feelings and those fears are real because it might not work. It might people may like it or not. You may, and we've seen this, you and I have seen this, right? Where people start something and they didn't get anybody. Um, and the questions that I'd be asking or the questions that I'd ask this person to consider is, well, what is the smallest way I could start it? We don't have like an incubator precisely within our club, but kind of like you can, if you're a member of our club, give a workshop. We have a few people who want to create their own memberships, their own, whether it's an app or a club or whatever, and they have the opportunity to come and they're not starting, right? And say, okay, why don't you do it with us? You're already here. Everyone's already here. We'll set up a meeting and you can start here. So I would ask people how they might just, as I heard so often from you, just show up and try stuff. Could you invite one friend and say, I want to share about this idea I have about doing a knitting club. And I know you like knitting and I just wanted to share this idea with you. Start just with that conversation. You don't have to start by building something even and hoping that, everyone signs up, but I would start with that conversation and I would be open to, hearing like what is it that this person loves about it too, and how can you tap into that as a community leader and provide space? Sorry, one, yeah, I know you have only one thing, but the other thing is you do not actually have to be the expert at the thing necessarily. because part of creating, I think, club and community is about allowing, seeing what emerges from that space. What I initially was doing was kind of teaching, what I knew. And it's become now more of me creating spaces where people can grow on their own with each other, teach each other. It's become something more. Now, if I had sat down and said that's what I wanted to create, I wouldn't have started. But I just started teaching what I knew and seeing where it landed. So that's, I guess, the advice that I finally got to at the end of that long sentence.
Oh no, that is spot on. That is absolutely spot on, Mark. And it's sharing what you love to do. It's teaching what you love to do. Um, that's spot on, Mark. I couldn't have said it better myself. All right, with all of that, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, anyone from the starship that might be bordering our planet here, listening in, thank you so much for listening today. We really appreciate it and appreciate Mark very much for taking some time to talk about his membership, the Unleash Creativity Club. Love that name. And I'll put a link down below, Mark, so if anyone else wants to know about it, they can click on the description link below.
Thank you.
Until the next time, I'm going to summarize what me and Mark basically were talking about is two things. Try it. That's the only, there's no, you can't mentally decide whether or not something is going to work. You can't. But you can show up, put your foot forward, see what happens, and as Mark suggested earlier, do it in community. You alone can do it, but you can't do it alone. The best way to grow yourself and to take an idea and put it out into the world is to get community, is to get support, is to have people that have your back, have people that they want to see you do well. With all of that,
Well
Mark, thank
said.
you so much for your time today. Really, really appreciate it for sharing your wisdom, your experience. Um, what a great way to serve people in the world. Your members, they've got a good deal with you.
Thank you, Dermot. It's always good to see you. Really good.
Until the next time, everyone, think big, have fun, stay curious, and put your idea out into the world. You couldn't think of a better time to take an idea and put it out into the world and see what happens. Cheers. Thanks for listening.